Hey Eric, welcome to the Value Driven Marketing Podcast. How is it going?
Hey, Elena, it's going pretty good. Beautiful day here in Bucharest outside. So I think I'll go get some fresh air this afternoon, but it's going pretty well.
Nice to hear that, and really lovely to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, me
Very
too.
excited.
I'm excited too. It's always good to chat with a friend versus a stranger because sometimes it's hard to open up. But I already know you, and in fact, I should be drinking a glass of wine right now, but I forgot to get one.
I'll get my coffee mug. Eric, so before we dive into web personalization, which is the topic of our episode today, I do want to start with some sort of a fun question, and that is related to childhood. So, what was your childhood like? Do you have a particular memory that you're very fond of that you would like to share?
Yeah, it was kind of a strange childhood. My best friend was Huckleberry Finn. Okay,
Oh.
now that wasn't his actual name, but it was weird because my parents were divorced, and on one weekend I'd be with my mom, and we would be hanging out with inner city kids, going to the park to play basketball, or going to the little store to play video games, an arcade game like Street Fighter. But then on the other weekend, I go to my dad's house, and he lives sort of out in the country. And so there was woods, I had BB guns, there was farms that were near us, and we'd go walking down trails. And my best friend there, he was like Huckleberry Finn. His brothers and his dad would go hunting, and they had like this duck in front of their yard, and it was just so weird, so much different than my other experience being at my mom's house. But we would catch crawfish in the summer.
Oh.
That's right. We would catch crawfish and hang them on clotheslines, and we'd just see who could catch the more crawfish. And we would go hunting with our BB guns and try to shoot birds in the sky. It sounds real mean, but as kids, that's what we did, right? Growing up in the country. But that was my childhood, so to speak. It was pretty good.
Fun stuff. Thank you for sharing, Eric. So moving on into our episode's topic, can we talk about a bit how you got started with OptiMonk?
Yeah. So the founder of OptiMonk is Csaba Zsadó. I probably butchered his name. It's a Hungarian name, and but Csaba, I'm pretty sure I got right. We met because he was on my podcast, Innovators Can Laugh. He was a guest, and I interview startup founders here in Europe. And we had a great show. We had a lot of laughs. He was actually a pro gamer before he became a startup founder. Was very good. Was one of the best in Hungary. And we had such a good time. And at the time, I was working for Bonjoro, which is a video email personalization platform. And we thought we had this good idea that maybe we should partner up. And we did. We ended up doing different co-marketing activities. Like we did a co-webinar together. And he talked about OptiMonk and how it could be a value to our customers. And I did the same for OptiMonk customers because we were both centered around personalization and giving shoppers and your visitors and your customers a really personalized experience. So it was so easy just to have that synergy, one with video and then the other one with with your website. And that's how we got to know each other. And now I'm primarily working with OptiMonk now.
Oh, what a great way to start a relationship. So, be friends, be a guest on the podcast, and then this is super cool and inspiring as well. And can we talk a bit about OptiMonk and who's OptiMonk for? What type of businesses do they typically serve, so to speak?
Absolutely. So it's a comprehensive website personalization tool. What it does, it allows businesses to basically create personalized shopping experiences with ease. And what I mean by with ease is that there's really no coding required. You don't really need a big or expensive IT team to implement these things in your website. I can do it. I created a Shopify store and I tested a lot of different campaigns and various pop-ups and just various, utilizing the platform myself. And if I can do it, anybody can pretty much do it. But why you would want to do this, why you would want to create personalization is so that one, you can increase, conversions. but at the same time, you're giving such a good experience that you're going to have more returning customers. You're going to have less abandoned carts, and you can have more people, more trial to paid conversions if you're a B2B company. So that's what OptiMonk does. Initially, it was created for e-commerce. That's what we're kind of known for. But some of the agencies that we work with, they informed us that a lot of their clients, B2B clients, have started using the tool, and we were like, why? What are they using it for? And they told us a few reasons why they were using it, and they were like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess it doesn't have to be an e-commerce brand to use this personalization tool. There's other B2B companies out there that are doing this. So we're excited to hear. I'm excited to share a few use cases and why this would make sense. But before that, I got a fun story that I kind of want to share with you. My son, he's into climbing trees. And there's this park nearby where we live, and it's one of those big vine trees where the vines are all over the place. And he's got these different routes that he goes up to. Well, recently I had to go to Dedeman. And for those that are outside of Romania, Dedeman is like the Home Depot, but for Romania. And I had to get a part for a toilet. And I told my son, instead of just bringing him along with me, I said, hey, you know that desk that Daddy uses in his office? Well, it's made of wood, and wood comes from trees like the one that you love climbing. Well, I got to go to this place where there's all kinds of wood. There's big pieces, small pieces. There are different colors. They even smell differently. Do you want to go? And his eyes got really big, and he's like, yeah, I want to go. Let's go. So we get in the car, and I'm looking in the rearview mirror. He's only 5. He's in the back seat. And I can tell he's got this anticipation. He's excited, to go to this place where there's all this different wood. Now, in hindsight, he's probably thinking, oh, God, I'm going to climb all these different, trees or whatever. But he's excited, and I'm excited to take him there. And we get inside, and he's, wow, this is a big store. He had never been in such a big store before. And I tell him, okay, look, you see that little forklift over there that's carrying these pallets of wood? It's lifting that wood. Let's go check it out. And so we're like skipping over there, and he sees the wood. He's like, Daddy, can I touch it? And I'm like, of course, go touch it. And he tries to lift it up. It's like, it's too heavy. And I go, well, yeah, they're really heavy side, And he's like, oh, look at that one. That's a different color. And he starts smelling them. But anyway, he's having this fantastic experience that could have been just an ordinary trip to a store to get a part and walk out, right? But I just took a few extra minutes, and I turned this trip to Dedeman into Disneyland. Okay. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but I really made it a memorable experience for him. And it was something that he could talk about. Not only that, it just deepened our relationship. As parents, we tend to think that if I want to make my kid happy, I'm going to do a few things. Maybe I'll put on Ninjago on Netflix. Or maybe I'll take him to get ungetzata, which is ice cream, but ungetzata is Romanian for ice cream. Or maybe I'll take him to the mall where he can go and do one of those jumpy places type things, right? But so often, we just tend to overlook just our imagination and just spending a few extra minutes and thinking, how can we really make this experience, better than what the general experience is. And that's the thing, unfortunately, for most businesses out there. They tend to focus on, how can I make this digital experience better for the visitor? And they tend to focus on things that are really just short-term wins, like presenting an offer or a discount and trying to create a sense of urgency. Like, okay, if you sign up for this, in the next 10 minutes, you get like 20% off. Right. And that's a short-term win, but it's at the cost of, really creating a deep relationship with the customer and creating customer lifetime value. Another short-term win is you create some enticing Google ads or Facebook ads, and you get somebody to click on it. But when they get to the landing page, the value proposition or the product has nothing to do with the ad itself. Yeah. There's a mismatch in expectations right there, right? Again, They're trying to get those short-term wins and not thinking about the long-term. So what we ask our customers to do is, okay, sure, OptiMonk is a platform. It's going to increase your conversions. I mean, it's so many, tricks to do that, with pop-ups and things. But what we're asking the people to do and businesses to think about is have a mindset like Amazon. Think about the long-term approach, right? Think about how can we help people at different stages and present valuable information. So that way, when they're not really purchase ready, when they become purchase ready, they're going to remember you, they're going to think of you, and they're going to go back and be that customer, not just for one time, but over an extended period that they'll be years that you'll win them. So that's what we're trying to do with our platform.
Oh, that's a very nice intro. And I definitely agree with the fact that you need to set the context right, know who you're talking to, what they care about. And that definitely can help you create an experience they remember. And especially in B2B, I guess you hear that a lot of time that B2B is boring. And we as consumers, if we're used to having a tailored experience while buying, I don't know, a clothing item or, furniture or anything else, we then, when we buy B2B products, we kind of we've grown to expect the same type of experience, but I think we rarely see it in practice. So it's, I definitely agree that you need to, know who you're talking to, and then figure out how can you personalize that experience and make it memorable, and not for just now, but, for the long term. And I love the short versus long-term mindset, because you're probably, especially in B2B, I guess just being short-term minded doesn't really work, because people are not ready to buy, not on the first visit. So how do you engage them? How do you make them remember you and stay top of mind until they get to the point where they actually need the product or the service that you're selling? So so glad to hear that. And I'm very, very curious to learn about the different use cases for web personalization for a B2B brand. If we can shed some more.
So when our agencies approached us and they told us that they had some of their clients that were using OptiMonk, we of course said, well, how are they using it, right? And so here are a few different use cases. So one, we have some brands are basically using OptiMonk so that they can redirect visitors to the right country's website. So for example, I'm in Europe, but I go to a website, a B2B website, but I go to the US website, the US version. And so what they're showing is like a little message that appears, and it says, visiting from Europe, you're currently on the US website, switch to our European store or European site to make sure that you're in the right place. And there's a little button that you can click on there if you want to go to the European website, right? So that's one use case. Another use case that I think is fantastic, and any business can be doing this, especially B2B, is basically a reminder message to deploy when a user is idle on the site or when they didn't complete a form page. So if a person is signing up on a form for a free trial, but they didn't finish it for whatever reason, then after a certain time, you can have a little side message appear that just says, hey, we noticed you're inactive. Do you need any assistance? Right? And so that's one of the other little tools that a lot of businesses are starting to use our platform for. And it increases, form completion rates, just having that little message, because we often get sidetracked. Maybe, we forget that our credit card is in the, in our wallet, and we try to go get it, but then all of a sudden the phone rings or the doorbell rings, and we lose track of what we were doing. And then we go back to our computer and think, oh, I need to respond to this email. And so you kind of just,
lots of distractions.
lots of distractions. Another use case here, that was number 2, but a third one is we have this feature called on-site logic, right? And so we have some brands that are giving different messages for first-time visitors. So if the website recognizes this is a first-time visitor, then they're really showcasing the testimonials that they have on their homepage, and then also their rating that is listed on G2. And so they're really trying to build that trust and credibility by showcasing, hey, here's other people like you. Here's other brands that work with us, for that really first experience. And it's really most about getting trust. But if it's a visitor that is not a first-time visitor and they know that it's a returning visitor, somebody who's already familiar with the brand's reputation, then they display different content to the visitor. So that's another third example of how brands are using OptiMonk. And my favorite one is adjusting the headline and the value proposition of the landing page or the homepage so that it's aligned from where they're coming from. So what do I mean by that? If a brand is using Facebook ads or Google ads, and obviously they're creating different messaging around those ads, then they're taking those campaign parameters, plugging those parameters, and putting them into OptiMonk. So that way, that value proposition or whatever the messaging was that was on the ad is actually the same messaging that they see on the landing page. So here's an example. We've got a client, and they've got a product, and it's a cool blender. And the blender, what's great about the blender is that it's easily portable, easily rechargeable, and it's also very powerful. And so they have different ad sets for each of these different value propositions. Somebody clicks on a specific ad around portability. When they get to the landing page, there's a beautiful image of the blender, but the main headline is around the ease of portable. And so if you're using any sort of paid advertising, you can do that. And think about where the source is coming from. If it's coming from your ads, then make sure the value proposition is tied or is aligned with your ads. Or maybe you're doing LinkedIn advertising. And so you can have a specific message around LinkedIn visitors as well. So that's use case number 4 that I just shared with you.
Yeah, and that's super important because a lot of times you would click on an ad, land on a web page, and you'd be like, am I in the right place? Because the ad said something else. So I think having a message fit between the ad and the landing page is super important. So quite interesting. And we're talking about cold traffic. So is there also a way, and this is like sort of a bonus question, is there also a way to customize your messaging or your website content depending on whether that person is a contact in your CRM, for example?
Absolutely. So you can even create a different experience for VIP customers. And so if it recognizes that this person is in your CRM, they're already a customer, then you can display like a little message that maybe you want to share with them that you have a new feature rolling out soon. And you can give them a sneak peek, right? So you can have like a little message bar that says, oh, take a look at our new feature coming out soon or in the next week or the next 2 days. Or, we have a special one-to-one webinar that we're giving for our VIP customers. And you can have that display on the website specifically for customers that are already in your CRM, or that you designate that, this person has been on our website multiple times in the past X number of days, and therefore we want to make sure they have a different experience for them. Or if you have an email newsletter that goes out, and people, you can tag it so that anybody coming in from this email newsletter, they get to our website, we can have a different content for those people. So absolutely. And another thing that I think is quite interesting is, suppose you have visitors coming to your website organically. You do not know where they're coming from. Okay. So one feature that a lot of our customers take advantage of is basically a welcome pop-up, but then asking the person what they're mainly interested in. So if you're a B2B company and you're primarily serving different industries, let's say you're serving the healthcare industry, but also universities, and then maybe another type of industry, like maybe cybersecurity, for example, then you can have a little welcome pop-up and say something like, hey, welcome to B2B.com. Can you let us know what you're primarily interested in? And, just click here, pick a choice, and we'll give you like 10%, coupon or whatever, 10% off. And so you're asking them, make a selection. And so that little micro engagement, because you're not asking for their email address or credit card or anything else, you're just simply saying, choose here to let us know what you're primarily interested in. Once they make that selection, then you can present a next screen that says, thank you so much. Here's your coupon code or discount offer. And by the way, because you're interested in cybersecurity, here's some use cases around cybersecurity that may interest you. And so now you've really personalized their experience in real time by giving them the content that they're most likely to engage with and likely most likely interested with as well.
That sounds great, especially since, B2B websites are becoming so crowded. You have a lot of content, a lot of free resources, and especially if you are catering to different, industry segments, it can be difficult to just find the answer that you're looking for. And what the user will do will be just, okay, I'm going to drop off and just go on another website and find my answer. So that's great if you can offer them quick value, like here's the content that we think would be most most suited for you. So that sounds super interesting. And I'm wondering, on one side, maybe can we start talking about adoption? So how are B2B companies reacting to this type of technology, and how are you seeing adoption happening? Are companies interested? Are they slow to adopt? How are things going on that end?
Well, I think they're kind of slow to adopt. I think a lot of B2B marketers, they tend to focus on really activation or acquisition and then activation, right? And there's a lot of things that they do wrong, in my opinion, B2B marketers. And, without regard to personalization, let's just start with some of the basics. I think a lot of B2B companies out there, for example, the logo wall, they only include logos of maybe their biggest companies, the biggest enterprise, clients. But if you're a startup or a small company, you may assume that this company only, works with enterprise companies and not startups. So a recommendation there would be to include a few different industries, maybe some smaller companies that people have not really heard of, but startups will recognize, oh, great, they work with startups too, right? And then on that note, not including a case study with any of the logos that you have on your website, right? Maybe you have like 10 different logos, but there's no case study to be found with any of those companies that you're featuring as, some of our top clients. That's another big mistake that I see B2B marketers do. And then another one is including the same headline for basically every customer segment that you're trying to attract. And maybe this headline, maybe you think it works for everybody, but it doesn't. And so that's another big mistake that I see B2B marketers make. And then one bonus one, not including 1 or 2 video testimonials on your website, because people just get oversaturated with text testimonials, whereas a video testimonial can stand out. It kind of cuts through the clutter, and they're more believable. So if B2B marketers kind of just focus on getting those right, then already, you're going to create a better experience without having to do any sort of, adding any sort of personalization tool or platform. But once you have those, in your bag, once you've got those right, then you can start thinking, how do I personalize, add some personalization to, to the digital experience that my visitors are I want them to have.
That sounds great. And for someone who's looking to get started with web personalization for B2B marketers, what would you say are kind of the steps that they need to take? What's the logic, and how should they approach this process?
Yeah, I would first look at the number of monthly visitors that you're getting every month. If you're getting below 5,000 visitors a month, then it doesn't make sense to use the platform. Instead, what I would do is just basically insert a little box that's a little pop-up that just says, did you find what you were looking for? Right? And just get customer feedback and try, if it's below 5,000 visitors a month. But once you start getting more traffic into your website, then you can insert or start using a tool like OptiMonk. We have a free plan, and you can start there. But some of the basic things that I would start with are basically, if you're advertising with paid ads, then
Mm-hmm.
taking those campaign parameters from your ads, putting them into OptiMonk so that way the value proposition in the headline is aligned with the ad itself, right? That streamlines the customer experience. And so when they get to the website, they know that they're in the right place. They know that the messaging is relevant to the ad that they clicked on. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. The second thing is that little reminder notification. And so if a person this reminder notification can deploy when it recognizes that somebody started filling out your form, and maybe this is the sign up form, but they didn't finish it. And so there was a certain amount of idle time that went by, and there's been no movement on the website. So you can have this little reminder notification pop up on the website and basically ask them, hey, or tells them, we've noticed that you've been inactive. If you need some help, please let us know, right? That's the second thing I would recommend. So you have adjusting the headlines so that they are aligned with the ad that they clicked on, and then you have the reminder notifications. And then the last thing that I would do is the example I kind of shared with you earlier, where if you don't know where they're coming from, if they're an organic visitor, then simply welcome them with a pop-up and just say, welcome, please let us know what you're interested in. And you can incentivize the click to get a higher click-through rate if you want to, but then of course present like the main industries that you're trying to target, or the main services that you provide. And so once they select those services, then on the next screen, you can give them their offer, present them what you told them that you were going to give them, but then also showcase the best case studies that you have specific to whatever service they signed up for or industry that they're interested in. And so that way you're personalizing that experience in real time. And now you know something about them, and you can serve them the content that they're more likely to click on and engage with.
Yeah, I love that. And especially since it allows you to figure out what's the most sought after, let's say, service that you're offering, or from which industry are most of your visitors coming from. So it also kind of gives you an insight into, who's more likely to be interested in your services or products, or in which specific, let's say, service, if you're offering more than just one. So that sounds really interesting. And you mentioned that for companies having less than 5,000 visitors a month, it doesn't really make sense to go in depth into web personalization. So I was thinking if we can clarify whether there's a time and a place when it makes most sense, or where when you can reap the benefits of a tool such as OptiMonk.
Yeah, well, we have, that's just a recommendation. We have a free starter plan that's free. And so even if you don't have 5,000 visitors, you can still implement the tool and still do some of the things that I recommended, like including that welcome pop-up and asking them to, select which industry or service they're interested in. And that's very useful. It's, that's still very powerful. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. But it's just, hey, if you have very low traffic, I think it's more powerful if you just simply ask one question: did you find what you were looking for? Right? And having a little box like that, you're going to get a lot of great data, probably within a short time frame, 30 to 60 days. And from there, based on feedback, there you can make adjustments to your website. And then after you do that step, then you can implement OptiMonk, that tool. But I would say first do that first. If you've got minimum traffic, ask them that one question: did you find what you were looking for? Get some data, get at least 35, 40 responses, and then make changes based on that feedback. And then after you make those changes, then implement OptiMonk and start personalizing, for different segments that you're getting customers from. That's when you can start doing fun things like tying the headline and the messaging to the ads that you're running, or redirecting visitors that are coming from, Europe versus the States. Or, if the form is not being completed, including a little pop-up message that says, hey, do you need assistance? We noticed that you've been inactive, right? That's when you can implement those tools.
And because you mentioned earlier that you're feeling adoption is still slow among B2B marketers and B2B companies. I was hoping maybe you can share maybe a success story of a company using web personalization and what they managed to achieve and how they've managed to improve their users' experience on their website.
Yeah, absolutely. So BlendJet, this is an e-commerce company, and I'll have a B2B example in just a second. But BlendJet actually increased their paid conversions by more than 50% from tying the headline and value proposition on the landing page to the ads that they were running, right? But you can apply that to any sort of industry. It doesn't have to be e-commerce. So BlendJet is one good example, and there's another example. And they're called Wood Clothing. And they do something quite remarkable where if it recognizes they're a U.S. retailer, but if it recognizes that they're coming in from a country outside the U.S., they have a little pop-up message appears. And if I were to go to the website from Romania, where I am now, it says, "Hi, welcome Romania. We ship to Romania. You can shop in your local currency. Orders over 500 RON are free, and all taxes are already included in the price." Isn't that fantastic? That's pretty nice. I mean, within a few seconds, I already have reassurance knowing that I can shop from this website from where I am, and I already know, that the taxes are going to be included. I don't need to be worried about any of that. It's just so good reassurance. It helps build trust with the brand. And I think that's another great example of how our brand is taking advantage of personalization by recognizing where the person is coming from. But the other example that I had shared previously is with a company called Voyage. And they're taking advantage of the form not being filled out. And so they're using OptiMonk to basically introduce that little side message that just says, "Hey, we noticed you've been active. Do you need any assistance?" And that is so crucial, especially when it comes to B2B, because there's a lot of SaaS companies out there where really the main call to action is not necessarily subscribe to our newsletter or download this. It's really sign up for our free trial. And so if you're a SaaS company out there and that is your main CTA, this is one of the things that I highly recommend. Voyage has had a lot of success. They've already been able to, from what I hear, at least 20% increase in conversion rates from implementing that little side message that just says, "Do you need any assistance?" Because a lot of people are taking advantage of that and saying, "Well, yes, I do. I was in the middle of completing this and I have a question about this." And so it instantly connects with their chat agent who can help them out. And then once they help them out, they go back and finish that form.
Yeah, that's lovely. Just, jumping and helping people right when they need it. So this is a very nice example.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Instead of waiting for somebody to reach out to you, you actually say, kind of give them a nudge, like, "Can we help you?"
And you're not being intrusive. You're just like, "I'm here if you need help."
Yes, absolutely.
Love this. Love this. Eric, so, in closing, for someone who is thinking about getting started with web personalization, but really has no clue what to do, what would you recommend them? What would your top advice be?
Yeah. So I think, again, if you're already, here's a few things. If you're doing paid advertising, I would start there, right? Make sure that the messaging, the headlines, the value proposition are tied or aligned with the ads that you're running. Okay. And it's very easy to set that up in OptiMonk with the campaign parameters that you already put for your ad sets. And I would start there. That's number one. Number two is if you're already using pop-ups, I would say, why don't you pause those pop-ups and use an exit intent pop-up? An exit intent pop-up is when somebody is going to leave your site. They're going to leave the tab, close the window, but then a little screen appears that just says, something like, "Sad to see you go. By the way, have you seen our most popular, products, or have you read our most popular use cases?" Try that. And you'll generally more than double your conversions from removing your generic pop-up and introducing an exit intent pop-up. Okay. And then the last recommendation is if you're already getting a lot of form completions, maybe you're getting over 50 a month, then I would put that little tool, implement that little tool that says, that basically triggers when we notice that somebody's been idle or inactive and hasn't completed the form. I would implement that little tool and just include that little message, hi, we noticed you've been active. Would you like some assistance? Right? Because you're probably going to collect some good feedback there. And over time, if you notice that, oh, there's one thing specific on the form that people were uncertain about, let me change that. And so you can make adjustments from collecting that feedback, but then also increasing the form completion rates as well.
So you're also learning what's not working, removing friction, not just, you're increasing your conversions, but by learning what doesn't work and, what drives people away. So that sounds really great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a shift from like the short-term wins of just getting people to make a conversion versus let me learn from them. Let me get feedback. And in the process, let me add value to their journey. And in the process, going from that short-term mindset to the long-term mindset of like Amazon, thinking like Amazon, where they're going to be customers for life because they know I'm more interested in helping them out versus trying to get them to make a purchase.
Right now. Awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds super interesting, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing, and hopefully our conversation will get more B2B marketers interested in web personalization. Hopefully they'll get some new ideas that they can try right away, especially since you mentioned there's also a free plan they can try. So thank you so much for being here today and for, sharing all of those ideas with us.
And Lena, my pleasure. Last thing I'll say is, when people think of Google Analytics, people think, oh, I activated it, so, I have Google Analytics, right? But the thing is, if you don't set up reports or set it up properly, it's just a bunch of data. It doesn't tell you a story, okay? So with OptiMonk, right, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you can activate it, but unless you really know what you're looking at, then you're not going to be able to use the tool properly. So I recommend that you go to optimmonk.com/customer value optimization guide. And we have a guide that shows you over 30 real world examples of how you can implement personalization in your website. And we share use cases with you, and we show you step by step on how to implement these different experiments and campaigns. So that's optimmonk.com customer value optimization guide.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you.